We're back, ladies, and we're talking about children. Oh my God, we've all got children. Bridget, you've got one daughter. Melly, you've got two. I've got 3 boys and 1 girl. And we're talking about, what was your line you just said then, Mel? Our children are probably okay if they didn't have a mother.
Yeah, yeah. Because we're such enablers, right? Like, I just have been observing the difference between me getting the kids out the door, and they're teenagers. I mean, they're not like, 5 anymore. And my partner getting the kids out the door. And it's 2 completely different experiences, and I think that one thing that's been really highlighted for me in this journey is this fear of your kids being angry with you.
Mm.
And we're so afraid of our kids being in a really bad mood with us or being really angry with us that we end up doing the most ludicrous things, and they end up getting away with all these things that they don't even necessarily want to get away with. They're actually looking for boundaries, regulations. They're looking for routine, and they are looking for safety from you, right? Ultimately, they want to know when the shit hits the fan that they can come to you and you are going to be a safe haven and you will sort it out.
Yeah.
But we've actually kind of moved into this different level of everyone feeling like they need to be the best friend and the confident and the partner, and you need to be all things to your child. And often in doing that, you no longer become the safe haven. So that's been, very interesting for me, because Salim gets the kids out the door, in 2 seconds flat. And yes, he might not always be the most delicate about it, but they do get out the door and they get on with their day and they're absolutely fine. And with me, I seem to get engaged in all of these excuses, coming back to excuses, and all of these like what do you call it, discussions, and sort of they're always trying to talk me around why they don't need to be in regulation uniform, or why they can be late, or why they can't get out of the car for 10 minutes because school hasn't started yet, or whatever it is. It's a constant negotiation going on, and they're very good at upselling. So the second they've got one thing, they're very good at immediately adding on, and I'm like, whoa, how'd we get here?
I know.
So,
And don't
yeah,
you
I don't
think
know
as
how you
well,
feel about it.
don't you think as well, as parents, like you all of a sudden find yourself in a situation and then you have to backpedal, like, you might let something go, or you might agree to something, and you do it with the best of intentions and the biggest of hearts, and then sometimes it gets a little bit out of control. Like, for instance, like my son wasn't really going to school last year, and in the end he was always here, and I was like, can you just go away, because you're actually really getting on my nerves. And as much as I love my kids, which I do, but I'm like, I need my space. Just go to school. And I knew school wasn't for him. And he's already left. He's 15. He's left school. He's now working full time. I understand the path of children. I get that. But still, I've kind of got myself into this, oh, okay, you don't have to go to school today. Okay. And because, the way I feel about the education system and blah, blah. However, it still got to the point where I got this situation that I then had to deal with, because life is life, isn't it? We have to, this is why I think it's so important we forgive ourselves on a daily basis, because we are just doing the best we can with the tools we've got in the situation we are. We had to chat earlier about how much stress we can be under any one time. And when I mean stress, it's like the things that life throws at us. You just moved countries several times, Mel, in a year, and had different properties. There's these big events that are stressful. Well, we never get away from that, do we? So then our kids come in and they know when they can ask questions. They get us. They are queen and king of that stuff. And they get in, and you, as we say, we do it with the best of intentions, but it is that feeling of guilt. And I think for me, I still get pangs of guilt now. I'll like say one of the kids go, Mum, can you drop me off? And I go, no, I can't. And still you get that, drop them off. Am I a really terrible mother? Oh my God. But then I have to go, what are you teaching you? What is it you actually want for your child? And of course, it's different when they're 5 and 6 and 3 and 4 than teenagers. The best thing we can actually do for our children is to teach them how to be autonomous human beings, independent, how to problem solve, how to be adaptable. But we do still get ourselves into these situations, don't we, ladies?
Oh my
I
gosh.
think it goes on individuals as well, I mean, not every child needs the same. They're so, unique in their needs.
Mm.
And as a parent, we're so, well, they come through us, and so do our grandchildren. I mean, they are born with the eggs that they will produce. So we have carried our mokopuna, our grandchildren, and our ties are so deeply rooted that when they want to try and cut them, it hurts, And I think as well, I mean, I'm not sure, but I've been a single mum most of my girls' life, and having to be mum and dad. And often, it has made me crazy. And my daughter calls me mad, mum and dad together, a bit grey, because it's, trying to find the balance of what the nurture is, which is what sort of mum brings, and what you were saying, Melly, with, your partner, that, he can just take the emotion out of it and say, well, this is how it is. And so it is what it is. Just it's the way we do it. And, and it's like, oh, okay. The emotion.
Yeah, there's a lot less guilt, and if they get furious at him about something, he's like, that's okay, you can be furious, he totally lets them have that. And whereas I'm sort of like, oh my gosh, I've done something, I've made them furious, I need to go in and have the talk. And been having a lot of talks, and actually sometimes they just need to be allowed to be angry off in their room. And I mean, there's that wonderful book called Of Course I Love You, Now Go to Your Room. And it's really about this learning to let the child have these feelings of anger, frustration, and yet not to take it on board as being all your fault. That they are learning how to hold human emotions, and we can still have our own boundary line and authority line to keep them safe, and they can still have their anger and their frustration, and you can hold it all, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And they just be free range, because we all get emotions, and a lot of those emotions come in as the same energy, on the same energy wave. Anger could be misconstrued for grief, for excitement, for stress, and it is hugely stress. Any of those things create that energy change in the body, which creates a stressor, right? But I think when we're in that space, it's really hard to pull back and neutralize it until we've actually found some sort of or solace, or some sort of grounding effect, that we know that our babies are going to be okay, and that they'll vibrate well through this journey, and that's all we're really wanting for them, right?
Yeah.
Different emotion comes in through it. And I know with my girl, who's almost 20, well, she's 22, but she went to uni, and through some of those years, it was like cutting the apron strings. It was that she was kind of chopping away at strings between us, because they no longer served either of us, and it has become such a different relationship since. Like, it is very adult. She talks to me like an adult now. And sometimes I think, oh, wow, I think you were my mother in a past life.
I think that about my 14-year-old.
But it's funny, isn't it? I think as mothers, well, all the ones that I know, we are, as soon as we have a child, we're automatically feel guilty. Do you know what I mean? We have we carry a lot of guilt, don't we? And I think that needs to be honoured and mentioned, because, you have a baby and you don't want to be near them and you feel guilty, but then you get away from them and you can't wait to be back to them because you feel guilty. And we have this guilt, and it's almost like this thing that we carry, but unless we are aware of it, acknowledge it, accept it, and then work through it, that guilt will stay with us forever. And as I said, I've been doing this work a long time and I still get those little pangs going, oh, I feel guilty. But I've got the tools to get over that, whereas I don't think a lot of parents do. And I think I see teenagers, I work a lot with teenagers as well. And it's exactly what their parents do. And their parents are trying to be their friend. Our children do not need us to be their friends. They need us to be their parent, and then we can be their friends second. That's how it goes. And we will always be their parents. That's what I say to my kids. We can have a laugh. We can take the mickey out of each other. But at the end of the day, I'm your mum, and I will always be your mum. I love you dearly. I'm happy to be your friend, but I'm your mum first and foremost. But that took me a lot of work to get there, and boundaries are so important. They're important for us. They're important for them. And what they say is your boundary ends is where somebody else's begins. And that's where the responsibility starts. But I think that's where, as parents, it's so important for us, all parents, and I wish I'd known this when I was pregnant, to learn more about emotional wisdom, to learn how to understand and feel our own feelings. Because you just said, Mel, like, let them go to their room and be angry, allow them that space. Why do we not allow them that space? Because we ourselves, most of the time, most adults I know are trying not to feel those horrible feelings. They're not comfortable in the horrible feelings. So what do? We mask it with addictions or maladaptive coping mechanism to run towards another feeling, to bypass the anger, to bypass the frustration, to bypass the hurt, whatever it is we're feeling. Life is full of pain. That is fact. But if we can learn to sit in our emotions, welcome them in, anger, frustration, grief, hurt, sadness, rage, jealousy, bitterness, resentment. If we can do that, we can then role model that for our children, and we will then stop trying to save them. Because at the end of the day, the greatest gift we can give our children is to allow them to feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. We're trying to bypass the bad feelings, and we just want the good feelings, and the bad feelings, like a come down, the bad feelings are so much worse when it's someone very, very close to you, and someone that you nurture and nourish, and you want this great relationship with. And there's also this pressure online, to have this great relationship with your child. There's all this pressure from the #SoBlessed community to have this incredible relationship. And if you don't, if there's some shit hitting the fan, if you're going through, children go through all kinds of struggles with anxiety, suicidal thoughts, depression, and they're going through massive hormonal surges, and I think they need supplement support just like we do. I think that, when we're going through these things with our kids, we want to immediately fix it, and instead of actually teaching them how to go through it. And this is why, as adults, we're so ill-equipped to deal with our own emotions, because we weren't taught how to deal with our emotions, in a healthy way, to honor all these sides of ourselves when we were younger.
I love that. And I also, there's huge bits there that there's gaps in. I mean, we've got so many gaps in this thing. You mentioned supplements and how to take care of ourselves. And it's this whole thing of knowing who we are and how we function. And, our serotonin, we know 90% of it is made on our gut lining. 50% of our dopamine is made on our gut lining. 40% of our dopamine is made in our kidney tubules. You know, if these
Oh,
organs are not functioning well, when we look at the gut primarily with teenagers, with that, you know, and we talked about this, we hit a little bit on this the other day in our talk with food and how marketing departments have taken over, you know, and how now, I mean, as a child, I went to school, I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, and I might have an apple after school or something if I was hungry or doing sport or something, you know, and we're going to have a late dinner. Mum would give us some fruit. Now, children go to school, they have breakfast, they have morning tea, they have lunch, they have afternoon tea, they have after school snacks, they have dinner, they have supper, they have dessert. You know, there's something like a Milo before bed, which is like a meal, you know, and it's like 10 meals in a day. In the 60s, we never saw, you know, obesity or issues with diabetes or issues with these things, or the amount of sadness that we've got in our world, you know, and this comes back to actually getting our energy and our nutrients from real live food. If you're living on 2-minute noodles, you're going to become a noodle.
it reminds me of the study they did with kids in Korea, I think. Forgive me if I've got that country wrong, but I think it was. And they asked kids, they asked all these kids where vegetables come from, and all of the kids said the supermarket.
So detached, when in our older cultures, they were so connected. And I think a lot of these well-being programs are actually coming back now, where they're centered around a lot of children, you know, in schools making gardens. We see this, I mean, everywhere. It's about the biodynamics, this regenerative thing. And I think as well, if we bring that back to mums and children, it's this regenerative thing. You know, this echo circle of trying to allow them to be this being growing and evolving into who they're meant to be without too much programming, but you know, in a safe space to feel, to be who they feel they want to be.
Yeah.
There's so much in that. It's
And even allowing them to not know who they want to be. You know, there's a lot of power in that, because there's so much pressure. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what are your favorite subjects? And, you know, what do you think you're going to do? And what are your passions? And, you know, my daughter said to me, my younger one, she was like, just let me be a kid for a while longer.
I love that. I love that. So cute. It's so good. It's so wise. It's so wise. And let them be a kid forever.
I am the one being parented, I think.
Yeah, it's great. I think our children, they're our biggest teachers at the end of the day, aren't they? They're our biggest teachers. And I think we've talked a lot about different things, about guilt and getting things getting out of hand and having to rein them back in and putting more boundaries and emotional wisdom. And you know what? There's always an ideal world, isn't there? You know, in an ideal world, we would be doing this, 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 and this. I'm a coach of parents and teenagers. So I had this lady speak the other day going, because she was recommended to come to me. She says, well, she still has problems with her children. I'm like, I'm never not going to have problems with my children. That's never going to not happen. It doesn't mean I'm a bad coach. It doesn't mean I'm a bad mother. It just means there's no such thing as an ideal situation. We can carry on wanting an ideal situation. That would be awesome. And occasionally we nail it. We go, I'm nailing it now. But every day is a work in progress as well. And I think that's where we come back to daily forgiveness. Forgiving ourselves as mothers and giving ourselves a bit of leeway and going, I'm actually doing a great job from where I am. When are we ever really properly celebrated as well?
Yeah.
Mother's Day.
Yeah, not really though. Do you know what I mean? We need to celebrate ourselves and to change the whole, you know, we used to raise our children in community. We're generally doing it a lot on our own now. And I think, you know, there's this unsurmountable pressure on parents to be everything. You've got to be an Uber driver. You've got to be a sports coach. You've got to be a teacher because they're not really learning that much at school. You've got to know their schedules. You've got to help them pack their bag. You've got to make sure their shoes are clean. You know, when did we get all of this responsibility? And why is
As
it
well
on?
as
And why,
working full time.
yeah, why do we take it on? And then we go, and sometimes you wonder why your head's going to explode and you go, and that's why,
Yeah.
of course, it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah. And it's women are doing this on their own, whether they're in marriages or not.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're single parents. A lot of I have a lot of friends that actually don't have children, but a lot of my friends that do have children, they feel like a lot of them are single parents anyway, because dad's away or working, and it's, you know, or he's whatever. And this is yeah, it's so important. We need community. We need to hold a space for our kids to thrive, to become who they want to be in this container where it's safe for them to explore. And, you know, that for us, I've explored hugely through my life and pivoted and had to adapt to different situations or whatever. But, you know, they need that space to do. And now with the internet that so exposes them to such an array of everything in their face 24/7, and there's no filter, you know, compared to what we had, the innocence of, and it was quite innocent, our childhood, I feel now. But yeah, I mean, these things, it's all such a different space. We need to just hold that space, keep it safe, and make the community of women, not just, you know, but that womb man that we bring in, the nurturing portal for life. You know, we have the ability to really mold that and allow that to mold through us and enable whatever they want. I just don't believe in all of these structures and limitations on it.
I agree. And ultimately, why are we doing what we do? When we actually look at it from an outside in, we want our children to be happy and healthy. That is the two most common answers I've ever heard from any parent. What do you want from your children? To be healthy and happy. But what does that actually mean to you? And so we do all of this things from a place of heart. You know, we take them to places, we try and ease their pain, we try and help them through this and this.
What are their expectations?
And we're trying to make them happy. That's ultimately what we are doing. We're trying to make them happy. But actually, if we just took a step back, the greatest gift we can give our children is to ultimately find our own happiness, and then find our own self-love, understand how worthy we are, forgive ourselves, get to that place where we can emotionally deal with our own emotions from emotional wisdom, and then put those boundaries in place with our children and allow them that space
and
to
model
go
it
through
to them.
pain. Yeah, rather than trying to make them happy, because you know what, that's exhausting. And I think that's why a lot of women, mothers, are exhausted, because we're trying to make not only our children happy, we're trying to make everybody happy, everybody around us.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this group. And, you know, I just know that it's going to evolve and evolve and evolve as we go. But, you know, I feel like we're going to start building a community of amazing women who are just real normal women who are just, you know, they just want to come home to their shine. And they just want to feel radiant again, and they want to glow again. And you know, that's literally, that can't be done alone. Like, we are connected human beings, and women need to connect with women, and men need to connect with men in order to heal so many wounds. But you know, it just creates such a beautiful container for us all to feel safe in expressing all these angles of ourselves, because you know, we're not just the the interface that we show when we post a happy pic on Facebook. We are a myriad, a montage of emotions and feelings and angles, and we need to feel safe in the expression of those. And that's mainly what I want to get out of this group. That's mainly what I want to bring forth. That's what I want to manifest.
I love it. So
Radiance,
girly,
light.
yeah, I
The
agree.
light. You know, when we talk about light, and you just hit on it, when we come together as human beings, when we come together and gather that light, light is information, and that actually allows us to be informed, which gives us the form that we are, and that builds on everything. And when we share the light like that, wow, the radiance that's going to come out of that is going to be phenomenal. I'm just so excited. I'm really excited, not just for anybody that comes in, but for me. It gives me goosebumps because I know that we're all so powerful and we've been so separated. You know, that community coming together in unity is really important, especially now. We're needing it. We're looking for it. And that's why we've come together, right?
Totally. That's exactly why we've come together. So, girls, we started off our conversation talking about parenting and how our children can get away with stuff and how we find ourselves with guilt and doing things. So, what's your number one mum tip? What can we leave people with? Go on, Mel. What's your number one mum tip?
That is a great question. I think that my number one mum tip is going to be, don't be afraid to ask for help. And I saw a beautiful post on our community page. I'm in Sydney now, and I saw this beautiful post. It was a woman who owns a business in the area. And she said, you know, I have a 15-week-old baby. I've had to leave a relationship that is not good for my physical or mental health. But I have a small dog, and I have been struggling to find any apartment that will even consider me. And I thought I would just put a post on the local page to see if anyone could help. And the flood of support that came in, it just like brought tears to my eyes. I sat there for like half an hour reading all the comments. Everyone just swooped in and just surrounded her in this blanket. And then there was an agent, and he said, I've just had this apartment, come and have a look, see what you think. And you know, someone else was like, well, I can vouch for her dog, it's in the salon all the time and it's amazingly behaved. And you know, it was just beautiful. Like it was just this absolutely perfect representation of community and how it's actually meant to be. And I'm sure that she just couldn't believe it either, because, you know, imagine the situation she's found herself in. So
beautiful.
there you go. When you step out of your pride and you step out of this this onerous responsibility that we have placed on us, that we should be able to be super mum and do everything and hold every hat and help everyone, and say, actually, I'm having trouble coping. Things are tough. What can I do? I need some help. You'll be amazed at who's there for you. You really will.
I love that.
I love that too. That's such a brilliant tip. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because we are afraid sometimes. And I think sometimes be afraid and do it anyway. But I think we're so, I don't know. I think humans in general, we just don't, we're not taught even how to do it. So I think that's a magic tip.
Or even to be vulnerable. So taught to, you know, hold it and that's where we create these rocks that we talked about the other day. You know, throw the rocks out, be vulnerable. You know, we do have gaps and holes. We're not perfect. We're perfectly imperfect.
What's your number one tip?
Is to love on your kids hard. love on yourself harder, because if they don't see that, they won't do it for themselves either. And that's been a lesson for me, you know. So yeah, love is huge. And when I talk about love, I know that's really hard to describe, but it's beauty. It's feeling that beauty, joy, and just trying to see the perspective of that, but within yourself. And that's one of the things that I've had to do for myself quite often. You know, as I said the other day, one of the things I do for myself is I hug myself and I thank myself. I thank my body. I thank my bacteria for driving me. You know, these are just, and that vibration coming through me just feels so good. So love on yourself hard, or love on your kids hard, love on yourself harder.
I love that, Bridget, because I'll say something to back that up. I mean, I'm obviously, self-love is my area of expertise, but I see also the impact. Like, I know parents who say, well, my child doesn't know I've got poor body image. I don't speak about it in front of my child. I'm telling you, your children absorb everything. Your children absorb everything. You may not be saying it, but they are absorbing your energy. So how you feel about yourself filters down to your children. So I totally back you up, Bridget. Self-love is imperative. It's the foundation for life as far as I'm concerned. It changes everything, because how you think and feel about yourself affects your every thought, action, and decision. And your energy will radiate from that place of either self-loathing or self-love. And there is a choice. And if you don't know how to love yourself, check out our work, because we will get you there. And it's a beautiful place once you're there, because if you're fighting against yourself, you're fighting against a battle. You're fighting a battle which you're going to fight forever. You're the only person you spend 24/7 with. So I totally back you up. Your children know everything. So if you can radiate love for yourself, you're going to help your child learn to love themselves, because you love them. Think about how much you love your child. And imagine if they felt wretched about themselves, how would that make you feel? So therefore, it's worth doing the work on yourself.
Yeah.
My number one tip would be intentional. Think about what you want for your child, you know, and then it makes it easier to put those boundaries in place. I love both your tips. I would have liked both of yours first, but you stole them, so I'm doing a different one. No, but be intentional, because I think if you say, well, I want my child to be autonomous. I want my child to know how to make their own bed. I want my child to know how to cook for themselves when they leave home. I want my child to have a tidy, clean house, or to know how to wash themselves and have self-respect. You know, whatever your values are, then how are you going to allow your child to do that? So when then you say no to your child, no, I will not be dropping you off because you need to get your own way there. Or no, I will not be bringing your lunch to school because you've forgotten it, because you need to learn how to remember. You know, it starts to take that guilt away, because you're actually doing it from a place of love and kindness. You're not being a total monster by saying no, or by asking them to vacuum their bedroom. You're doing it from a place of absolute pure love, because you want them to have knowledge, skills, and values. So be intentional, think about what it is, and then work from there.
And you can tell them that too.
Absolutely. Be honest with your kids.
You're being such a mean person.
Yeah.
Mean mum. I'm like, no, it's actually because I love you so much. I'm doing this for you. Thank me later.
That's what I say to my daughter. I say, I will always fight for you, even if I'm fighting you for you. And sometimes I will be fighting you for you.
Oh, I love that, ladies. That's so beautiful. I cannot wait for our next chat, whatever it brings.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We would love you to like, follow us, share with all your friends, and get everybody to listen to us, because that would really help us. Mwah!